Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy, the dope ass dude, and I am so excited to be here on tonight with you guys. I mean, it is going to be an amazing show. So I hope that you are ready to get into what we have going on tonight, and you are in a position to change your mind because that is exactly what we're going to be talking about: the mindset and the power of our thoughts and how they impact our each and every day. So I'm really excited about having our guest here tonight and about you being here. So before we get started, you already know, please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed as of yet. And then while you are there, click on that notification button so that you can be notified each and every time a new video is loaded up to the site. And then while you're there and you're over there, go ahead and click on that like button. Clicking on that like pushes this podcast out to other people just like yourself who are interested in getting to know some pretty dope ass dudes. And then if you're not following me on TikTok and Instagram, make sure you go out and follow the Dope Ass Dude podcast on both. The Dope Ass Dude podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. So if you're not following me there, make sure you go ahead and do that. And then lastly, you can listen on the go. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And then on Spotify, if you want to look at the video of the podcast, they now have that option where you can watch the video as well as listen to it. So I'm really excited about everything that is going on. And since we last met, last Thursday, I celebrated the 10th year of my book, Naked, the release of that. And I am just so excited about that. That was a huge leap of faith for me to release that book, but it was a freeing opportunity for me. And I wish the book was still in publication because if it was, each of you would get a copy of it, but it is not. So, but it is such an amazing book. And also, if you don't mind, you can go ahead and follow Nick on Instagram as well and Facebook. On Instagram, he is the Believe Coach. And on Facebook, he is Nick Dillon. So you can go out and follow him on both. And so, just to give you guys a little history before I bring Nick out, he and I have been following each other on Instagram for a couple of years now. And Nick is a life coach, and we would like each other's content. And we started chatting on Facebook. And then Nick told me he was moving to Dallas. He said he was moving to Dallas. And once he came to Dallas, it took a while for us to connect. But then once we finally connected, of course, everybody know I love to eat. So I'm always going to meet people with some food involved. So that's just me. But I met Nick. We met at one of my favorite breakfast spots, Original Pancake House. Y'all can send me my royalty check for, pubbing y'all though. But that's one of my favorite spots. And Nick is just an amazing guy. And that's been over a year ago now when we met. We haven't met back up since then, but we've met, and this guy is just an extraordinary person. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him on out. What's going on, Nick?
Hey, what's happening?
What's happening? How you doing, man?
Great to be here. Great to be a part of this show, and just kudos to you on your efforts and your platform.
I
Excellent.
appreciate it, man. It's iron sharpens iron, honestly, because I always tell people on this podcast, I always believe in divine connections. And, I do believe that you and I are divinely connected, and you inspire me in so many ways with what you do. So, tell everybody, those who listen, like, who are you? Share a little bit about yourself with us.
Yes. So as John has indicated, I am the Believe Coach, and I am currently based here in Dallas, Texas, by way of Wisconsin. Was there for most of my life, if not all of my life, and I have been in the Dallas, Texas area for about going on 3 years now. Still go back and forth to Wisconsin a lot for business purposes. I have a business in Wisconsin that I manage, and have start one locally here in Dallas. And the work that I do consists of life coaching, leadership development, organizational development, a lot of recovery work, recovery coaching, addiction counseling, um, mediation work. And so I do a lot of things around mindset. And so if I'm working with leaders, if I'm working with individuals, it's all about getting our mindset and beliefs in alignment with our purpose. And so I've written now going on 4 books now, with my latest project being The Belief Mindset. And again, just all about understanding how our beliefs are formed and how they impact our thoughts, our mindset, and really how we move or not move each and every day. So glad to be here, glad to continue and do this work. For me, this work is necessary, it's purposeful work. It's where I get a lot of significance in my daily living. To be able to impact and touch one individual at a time and change a life, to shift a mindset, is always amazing for me.
Wow. And Nick, the funny thing about it is, when people hear life coach, of course, I think a lot of times people get life coach mixed up with a therapist or a psychiatrist, and that's not the job of a life coach. Is your job is to help them, meet their goals, not fix your life. So like, do you get that a lot? Do people get it a little bit confused when you're out and about?
Yes, yes. So one of the things I tell people is that with a counselor and with a therapist, yes, our job is to, because I do wear both hats, is our job is to help fix your life. And in fixing your life, there may be some things that you find yourself stuck. And as a therapist, we walk you through that process of helping you become unstuck. And some of those reasons for being stuck could be everything from trauma to healing, to a lot of deep, deep, deep work that requires some shifting of the mindset and guided process through that cognitive behavioral therapy. On the life coaching side, you really don't have any cognitive challenges. And how I like to look at it is that when we're coaching, we can talk about the past as a point of reference. But in coaching, we haven't taken residence in the past. It's just a point of reference. We remind ourselves throughout coaching that we don't live there anymore. And so that's where the two are.
Well, I love that we don't live there anymore, because a lot of us are living in our past, whether we've seen a therapist or not. A lot of us are still living in our past, and it's hard for us to move from there. Like, so, how do you get people to just reference it and not be a resident in it? How do
Mhm.
you do that?
Yes. So great question. A lot of this journey called life is we have to be willing to do the work. So part of coaching is, to your point, we set some goals for ourselves, and we tell ourselves that we have the ability to reach those goals. But oftentimes when we set those goals, we don't always know what might be the challenges to those goals. What I have found in doing this work for 20 plus years is that the challenges that we see oftentimes in reaching our goals is not always external. It's not always people, places, and things that stop us from getting to where we need to be. It's us. And it could be in this journey, somewhere in the journey. For me, for example, I had a strong message of not being good enough. Well, I internalized that message and that belief. And that in turn made me self select out on a lot of goals and things that I wanted to do. I say now it delayed some things because I've gotten over a lot of stuff, but still a work in progress. And so when those beliefs become internalized, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, then when we want to do the work and we want to move forward and we want to achieve some things in life, we find ourselves stuck. We find ourselves, challenged. We find ourselves, not being willing to move forward and take action. And if we're going to do that, we've got to recognize that we are going to be our best common denominator, which means all roads lead back to us. If I want to reach that goal, I got to get out of my own way. And so, as the coach, we're there to make sure that there's some accountability in you doing exactly what you say you're going to do. If you're going to get out of your own way, then that means having the thoughts and belief of not good enough. We got to break that down, and we got to use a rational mindset to remind yourself why you don't live there anymore. I was told that maybe at 10. I often use the example. I remember my third grade teacher telling me that I wouldn't amount to anything and that I was not good enough. And every now and then that little bird rings and reminds me of that. Well, I dismiss it now because I've built my belief to know why that didn't matter now. I think a lot of things that we have as belief systems that are limiting are holding us mentally hostage, because if we really say them out loud, they aren't even relevant today. And so if we see that and we break that down and we look at that, it could really change a lot of us to go ahead and be vulnerable and move forward. But yeah, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. We just have to be willing to trust that process.
Wow. And I loved how you said a lot of times we do look or we blame the external. We blame the external, but it's really internal. A lot of times it's internal. And I know you attend the Potter's House and everything. You know, one day I was listening to a sermon that Bishop Jakes had said, was preaching, and he said, a lot of us, we don't need the enemy, the external. It's the in me that is our problem. That's what we are wrestling and tossing with, because like you said, it is something that could have been spoken to us as a kid, and we have made that our truth, and that is tattooed on our brain. And every time we get ready to go and do something, we hear that voice that says you are not good enough, and we stop.
That's right. We self-select out. I think oftentimes we underestimate the power of our own beliefs
Yeah.
and the power of our belief system. And that is why it's so very important that I journal, because I like to really see my expressions and my feelings and emotions come to life. And I like to reflect in my journal to find out where my thoughts and beliefs are. And so I've been journaling since I was probably 10 or 11 years old. And it really helps me to see where my headspace is. And if you don't like to journal, this day and age, you can give yourself a voice journal. You can send yourself voice messages and archive and just listen to you and how you feel about you, you know. And, it's just good to do that, just to really see where your headspace is and where your mental and emotional self is. I think I think too often we're so in our head about things that it's easy to self-sabotage. It's easy to self-select out, all in the name of protecting self. Because you got to remember, the subconscious mind is there, the brain is there, but the brain is there to do some automatic things that functions with the body. But from a mental and emotional thing, the brain is there to protect you. And so the brain is always going to take you to a space of what it believes is safety. So we don't go from flight to fighting, fight or flight. And so it's always there to protect you. So it's always lending itself to a space that wants to either keep us normal, and sometimes the mindset of lack, the mindset of not being good enough, sometimes the mindset even in abusive relationships has been people's normal for so long that moving even into the realm of something that may help them, that may be better for them, or even something that they want, is far too of a stretch to shift the mindset to believe that. And so I think we have to be willing to disrupt some of the old thinking, disrupt some of the negative beliefs, even though it may seemingly feel like it strips us. But we have to know that what's on the other side of that is going to make us stronger, wiser, better, and allow us to fulfill our goals that we so want in life.
Yeah. Oh my God. That is, I mean, that is just like really, really, really good. And you do have to disrupt. And I think that we become so complacent and comfortable in our situations because it's the norm. And a lot of us have, like you said, have been in situations that are horrible, but we don't realize it's horrible anymore because we've been in it like so long. There's an analogy out there where they did an experiment with a frog. They put the frog in a pot, and it was just regular water, and they turned up the heat, and the frog didn't jump out. They turned up the heat more, and the water got hot, and the frog didn't jump out. And they turned it up to the point that it was boiling, and the frog never got out because it just became comfortable in the situation to the point that it died in it. Sometimes we got to take that leap of faith and just jump out and get on to our true destiny. And yeah, but you need people, you need a life coach around you or friends around you to tell you, girl, that ain't normal, boy. You might need to reconsider that.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. We use the analogy, and I'm sure people can identify with this because we live it each and every day. And a lot of individuals don't like their current situation. They don't like their relationships. They don't like their employment situation. They don't like, where they are in life, but they're uncomfortable with it. But they're not uncomfortable enough for change.
Mhm.
And so when we get sick and tired of being sick and tired, then we move. And so I just ask people, don't think that you have a whole lot of time to reach your threshold. I think if nothing else, the past couple of years in the pandemic really emphasized for me the value of time. And so since we don't get back yesterday, I really love to appreciate the power of now and appreciate the power of embracing and loving and being kind and adding value and really, quite honestly, living the best life that you can and being the highest expression of yourself that you can. And so you have to appreciate that now. I historically, I think I myself have even underestimated the power of being happy. And I relish in it now. It is so important to not discount the power of happiness, the power of now, the power of just being positive, embracing that. We don't have to live around and be in a place of negativity. We don't have to be around and stay in a place of lack and in a place of doubt and just have limiting beliefs that free us and hold us hostage to not really wanting to do the things that we truly desire in life. It's a choice. It's a serious choice for each and every one of us. And I liken it to the mindset that I offer in coaching is that you're writing the best-selling book of your life. And that book of your life is all about you. And no one out there wants to read a book that has the same pages. Each and every page is the same. They want new stuff. They want interesting stuff. They want next level stuff. And so we can create that in ourselves through our choices that we make each and every day. So as life happens, that's a challenge. That's something that happens to us that we didn't think would happen. And how we navigate that shows our resiliency. Well, I like to read that and understand that and know what you did and the steps that you take. And maybe it took you down, but you didn't give up. I want to read that. Well, we have the power of choice of that in our lives. We're saying that. We're living that. We're speaking that, but we're moving forward. When we speak in lack, when we don't want to make those choices, then we resolve ourselves to staying in a place where we've always been. And I just put a post up not too long ago on social media. Everyone understands the definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing that we've always done, but expecting a different result. Well, I ask myself, And I asked a lot of clients, when you hear that definition, what are you thinking? Well, you're thinking that you don't want to be insane, right? Yes. But I asked the question, do you really want a different result? Because too many of us, we want change. We want different. We want our best life. We want to live and be the best that we can be, but we don't want to do anything different to get there. We don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to stretch ourselves. But the reality is that you don't want to leave this earth not being able to stretch yourself in a way that in the midst of uncomfortableness, we find and discover so many things about ourselves that is greater, that takes us to a whole new level of richness and living. It's out there for us, and it's one simple choice away.
Wow. And most people want their situations to change, but they want to stay the same. No, your situation changes when you change because yeah. And the choice thing, I read a book, Stephen Arterburn, amazing book, and it was about the title of it is called Healing is a Choice, and it talks about exactly what you say. It is a conscious decision that you make to say, I want to be healed, I want to be better. And once you start making those types of decisions and speaking those type of affirmations, change and healing come. Wow. So Stephen, let's talk about your book, The Belief Mindset. Let's talk about that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, yes. So the belief mindset is a long chapter in a book that's also part book and part journal. And in the beginning of the book, I start with defining beliefs. And I define that beliefs are really, quite honestly, an accepted truth. And so we have to live life believing something. And so I start with what I believe is the most common definition, which is it's an accepted truth. We all don't go out and research everything we hear to make sure we verify it's right. At some point, we accept it as truth, whether we accept it, the source of where it came from, or where we saw it, how often we saw it, or who said it, whatever that looks like, it is an accepted truth. And I go on to talk about how our beliefs shape and they mold us. And they mold us from childhood all the way up to adulthood. And believe it or not, we have some beliefs for us that are actually working for us. They support our goals, they support us in our endeavors. And then we have these beliefs that came along for the ride that are not so good beliefs. And the beliefs in general comes from our family of origin, our different respective experiences that we've had, our teachers, our religious background, our behavior, our relationships, all of that stuff that makes up the mission, that whoever you are. And as we get older, we oftentimes ask ourselves the name of my first book, which is, who do you think you are? Who do I think I am? I don't know who I am. And we hear these phrases and statements from our relatives and parents. You remind me of your grandfather. You remind me of your uncle so-and-so, or whatever that looks like, or your aunt this, or your great grandma, whatever that looks like. And we don't know that because we don't understand who we are. And we don't understand why we feel a certain way. And we don't understand why we act and behave a certain way. Well, it has everything to do with how our beliefs were molded and shaped through the experiences that we had in life. And as we get older and we want to do this work, we want to feel better about ourselves, we want to build our self-image and self-esteem up, we have to take the deep dive to uncover, where did these beliefs come from? And so I talk about enabling beliefs that really support us, and I talk about limiting beliefs, the beliefs that don't work for us, but for whatever reason, we bring them along for the ride for safety reasons. And then the last half of the book is dedicated solely to just journaling prompts. And I give you some very deep journaling prompts and some statements that I'd like you to finish the statement after you have fully understood what beliefs are. And the very first question that I ask in the book is, who do I believe that I am? Because it is my hope that after you read and understand how beliefs are formed, that you then are willing to be vulnerable in the space of writing and understanding. And the book is for you. So you can be as open, as honest as you can, because for me, each book I write is for healing. It's for growth and development. It's for awareness, all in the name of making us better, wiser, stronger individuals to function in this world called life. And so I'm really excited about the book. I think it is a work that is necessary, a work that is really, impactful. And I subscribe to one of my own mentors, John C. Maxwell, and that is the statement that the only guarantee that we have that tomorrow gets better is that we are willing to grow, because life is going to happen. And to your point earlier, we're going to find ourselves in situations that we don't have any control over. And your best defense is going to have to be this and this, your heart and your mind, and how much you've grown that to prepare you for the present situation. And I always remember this statement as well, is that in life, we're either going through something, coming out of something, or preparing for something. And if I don't grow this mental and emotional muscle, and I don't grow this heart, and I don't heal, and I don't allow myself to forgive and let go of some things and shift some things, then I can only work with what I have. And sadly, you got some folks out there are still trying to solve today's challenges with a year 2000 mindset, a year 1990 mindset, a year 1980 mindset, a year 2021 mindset. And that's not working for us.
Yeah.
Because the challenges that we have in life today are going to get just more technical, more sophisticated, more deep. And I got to continue to grow me so that I can be the best that I can be, and more importantly, ready for what is to come.
Yeah. Wow. And I just want to say this here for the people that are watching and listening that have kids. A lot of these breakdown of belief systems and what people believe, it starts with you as a parent. And you may think your teenager is not listening to you, but they hear you. And those words that a lot of parents speak to their kids, just vomiting on them, toxic. Those things changes their lives, forever. I mean, it was a study that said a lot of kids lose their creativity around 5 years old to 7 years old, because that's when adults start interfering with them and they believe what they are told. And then it stunts their growth, and it makes well, parents say to their kids can either push them into greatness or it can tear them down into nothing. And parents have to understand you have a role with your kids, because that's where it all starts, at the house with the parents.
Yeah. That the age of reason for children is 7. And that's where we start rationalizing. That's where we have and get our first understanding, truly comprehending the mindset of good and bad, right or wrong. And that's where biases start. And once those beliefs lock in, as you continue to grow, you're going to have experiences that are either going to reinforce those beliefs or dispel them. And so if we start having things that dispel them, then we question the belief. And then we take time and formulate either a better one that's better for us. But what has happened is especially in the space of trauma, is that when it happens and it solidifies a belief, if it happens again and we experience it again, it further makes that mindset and that belief so strong. And that's why I say we got those two beliefs. And you're toggling, you spend your days really, quite honestly, navigating through the challenging beliefs, because the positive beliefs will continue to work in our favor, and we push those ahead. They support us. They are the reason we keep going and we keep doing what we got to do. But every now and then those negative beliefs, those limiting beliefs, if we unpackage, we find that that's what's holding us back. And 9 times out of 10, we trace it back to that family of origin. We trace it back to, in the education system. We trace it back to maybe family functions and gatherings. We trace it back to, our different high school and classmate experiences and whatever else that we've gone through in life, to really reinforce that. And so I want to emphasize, it's a strong process to uncover and be willing to be vulnerable, to not only uncover those beliefs, but really to be willing to work on them for the betterment of yourself. Some people I know are never going to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to take the negative beliefs all the way to the grave. But some people, I'm praying more than not, are going to be willing to disrupt, tear down those beliefs so that they can see a glimpse of the possibility that is waiting for them to succeed, to achieve, to accomplish, to do. There's so much that we can do. And I often say we have some limitless possibilities, But how I believe and what I believe in myself, there's going to be a huge determination on is going to make or break how I start, how I move. And how I move is going to determine what those results look like. And what those results look like is going to reinforce the beliefs. And so if I start with a mindset of limitless, that means I believe that the sky is the limit. I believe nothing can hold me back but me. And if I move with that mindset, I can accomplish some amazing things. But if I start with the mindset of, I need someone to support me, I need someone else to believe in me, I need someone else to say I can do this, then I'm fighting kind of against self-defeating beliefs. And that means I'm not going to start like I really need to start in the effort I need to put in here. And then we wonder why we're not getting the results that we really believe we should get.
And let's talk about that. That's a great segue into self-sabotage, because you just described that. Everything you were saying, I need somebody to believe in me. I need this here. I need this here. And we talk ourselves out of things that we are called to do in life.
Absolutely.
We are called to do, but because we are waiting for someone or something to come along and believe in us. Sometimes you just got to believe in yourself.
Mhm.
And I know it's hard. Especially when you've been told your entire life by your parents or by a spouse or by a friend or in relationships that you are not good enough or you are made to feel not good enough. I understand how you can be that way. But again, you got to make that choice. So let's talk about self-sabotage.
Yes. So self-sabotage comes consciously and it also comes unconsciously. Unconsciously, sometimes we self-sabotage to keep ourselves safe. Consciously, sometimes we intentionally set ourselves up so that we don't move forward. And we put the systems in place strategically so that we can blame somebody else, we can blame others, we can do all these things so that we don't have to move, even in a space of something that we want. And so, to your point, it's all in the head, because we get in our head where I may want to apply for a promotion, apply for a job, start a business, get into a relationship. Well, that is going to be as good as my mindset and beliefs are. And so sometimes, because it can get self-sabotage can get so bad until if I don't want to own it, I will say, hey, John, do you think I should go back to school? Hey, Sally, do you think I should go back to school? Hey, Jimmy, do you think I should go back to school? And if all of y'all say, well, I'm not going back. Well, I think you're too old. Well, it costs too much. Now, I don't want to go back, But if I get all of you all to say something that is negatively against it, then I can affirm the decision of not going back. But I will say to myself, well, I'm not going back because they don't want me to go back.
Mhm.
But the reality is, in these situations and in every situation of self sabotage, you are always going to speak the loudest to yourself. Because whenever, and I'll tell this to the listening audience, I want you to think about some of the things that you wanted to do in life so bad. And even in the midst of you wanting to do it, there were naysayers. There were people who didn't support. There were people who didn't want you to do it. There were people that had told you it wasn't going to work out. It wasn't going to last. It wasn't going to nothing was going to work good of it. And you did it anyway. And you know why you did it anyway? Because you talked the loudest to you and you were determined. So the flip side happens for us when it's something that we want to do and we self-sabotage out. So the biggest culprit in that is you. It's not anybody else. It's easy for us to blame others and again, external forces so that we don't have to own it.
Yeah.
Because owning it for a lot of us hurts. Owning it for a lot of us means that it's our fault. And a lot of us are hard on ourselves. We don't want to give ourselves grace. We don't want to give ourselves compassion. We don't want to give ourselves mercy. We don't want to give ourselves empathy. But part of this is us embracing who we are, whose we are, and trusting the process that if I push myself and I go and if I believe in me, if I'm my biggest believer in me, then everybody else coming along for the ride just enhances my belief. They don't tear it down because I want this. And so I'm going to surround myself with the people in my circle that support the mission, vision, value of what I want.
Yeah. And people have to understand when it's something that you want, this is one thing that I used to do all the time. You can't ask people for their advice. People are fickle and they are going to answer you based on how they are feeling or what is going on in their life at that moment. So if life is good for them and you go to them, hey, what do you think about it? Hey, I think that's a great idea. You will be perfect for it. You got the skills to do it. You go to them and their life is bad, their answer is going to reflect that. Well, you're not qualified for that. You need to go back to school and get this. You need to do this. You need to do this here. You have to, when it's something you want, like you said, you have to believe in yourself and just go for it. And if you don't achieve the results you want, use that as practice and go back and do it again. But do not allow other people to discourage you. But like you said, people, we use the external as a excuse or a reason for us staying stagnant. It releases us of the responsibility of us not doing anything. So if we ask somebody something, they say no. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna do it because yeah. That's
That's
really
it.
good, man.
That's it.
That's that's really good. Okay, so let me go here. I got another one here. Shifting your attention. But before we go here, we did have a question here for you. And the question is, how do we remove the negative stigma in our communities that's tied to seeking professional help? People need help outside of just praying it away.
Right.
That's a really good question there.
Okay. So when we're here's the thing, and I had to really learn this myself going into therapy and counseling. And that is historically, and I liken these to what I call family rules, family values, because a lot of this is generational. And in some cases, it might be cultural, but a lot of it is generational. And what we've seen over the years is that, and I often say to people, at the end of the day, people will disappoint you. And so we can't have an expectation of someone something that they can't give us. And so when it comes to seeking out professional help and understanding, all you're doing is getting another option. And so if the option is, and I say this a lot, especially with folks in recovery, you've tried to do what you wanted to do your way. How has that worked out for you? So if it's not working for you, be vulnerable enough to consider the option and the possibility that there is another way, there is another option, and take in consideration what that is and see if that works for you. Part of this is that we need someone who's willing, who is truly willing to say, I'm going to support you. Not only are we going to unpackage this, not only are we going to talk through and work through this trauma, this history, this mindset that you're struggling with, but I'm going to support you in this as a accountability person, as a person that wants you to be well, as a person that wants you to be and get to where we know you can be. And I'm going to support you in this. We're going to do this work. But more importantly, I'm going to be confidential. It's going to be confidential. I'm not telling your mama, your brother, your sister, your friend, your cousin. It's all confidential. Not only because it's ethical and that's what we do, but because it's also legal. Okay? So beyond me just being a person of integrity and the ethical right thing to do, but it's legal that we do it. And so to be able to help and work through this with someone in a way that supports them, I don't think we should be shy to it. I think we should be willing to be open to it, the possibility that it can happen, and then work through it on your own. And there's a lot of counselors and therapists out there, even those that look like me and you, and those that look like other cultures and ethnic groups, to be able to support you through the process. We have to just be willing to trust the process. And I always go to the mindset of insanity. Do I want different results, or do I want to stay where I'm at? And if I don't want to stay where I'm at, let me be open to the possibility of X. And I will also say, I've worked, and I can speak to this, directly. I've worked with some ministers and clergy who have sought me out and had a conversation around professional help, counseling, and therapy. Because when you have someone and you're working with someone who has a mental disorder, when you're talking about bipolar, schizophrenia, and other type of major depressive disorder, some of this stuff is, and I'm not saying that prayer doesn't work, because I'm a believer myself, but if I'm having a manic episode, if I'm having a psychotic break, my mindset is off. And you can't get clarity and connect with me until my mindset is back in a stable condition in order for me to receive. I can't get spiritual understanding with a mindset that is not well. And so consider that as well. And thank you for that question.
Yeah, and I mean, I see a therapist every week. Well, now I'm doing every other week, but I keep a therapist, and it helps me because I think we need it. We need it. Even if you just need someone to talk to, and someone that you can go and speak with that has no judgment. And at the end of the day, all they want for you to do is win. They want you to be better. That's the part of therapy. So, I think we do have to get away from the fear of telling people that we have therapists or that we need to see a therapist. It doesn't make you crazy because you're seeing a therapist. Nowadays, most crazy people are the people who don't see a therapist. So, but yeah, it is what it is. And most people on their job, they need to understand, your job has EAP. You can go through the EAP on your job and get a therapist. They give so many sessions per year free that you can go and try out a therapist if you're not comfortable just, going out for it right out. You go through your EAP at work, it's confidential too. So, Nick, they are asking a lot of questions here. They're like, what is your website? We're going to put that up here for them. Where's your website? And where can they get your book?
Yeah, you can get the book right on the website. So if you go to the website, just go to the books and buy the book.
Buy the book. Okay, so let one last thing, because I know, it's always going by so fast. So mental diet, how important is what you feed yourself? How important is that to your daily living? Because a lot of us, we are feeding ourselves all of this junk in music, TV shows, conversations, and we wonder why our lives are trash. But you feeding trash to yourself all day long.
Right, right. So, in honor of Mental Health Month, I want to emphasize that mental and emotional wellness is big. And to your point, a very healthy mental diet is necessary. It's necessary for clarity, it's necessary for productivity, it's necessary for good relationships, it's necessary for you to be good at your job, it's necessary for creativity and innovation. It is necessary. And I will also emphasize, I have what I call a daily regimen. And that daily regimen involves getting up, going to the gym in the morning. And while I'm at the gym, I am pouring into this mental and emotional muscle. So I might listen to some inspirational or meditative music. I might listen to a positive audio book. I might even listen to a sermon or a message. But the whole objective is to pour into me positive things, because that language that we hear, the messaging that we hear over and over again, is what fills this up. And then when I need it in crisis, I pull from here. Okay. And so throughout the day, the reason I do that in the beginning of the day is so it clears my mind. It sets intention for the day, which means I'm setting intention that today is going to be a good day. And in setting that intention throughout the day, I might pause throughout the day and just take a moment and close my eyes and center myself. And you can do that by way of, you all may have heard of the Calm app, where I may close my eyes, go on the app, and just play the sound of the ocean. I may play the sound of rain, or something that allows me to just bring my focus back to my center, my core, and just get away the distractions. And doing that throughout the day, maybe before a serious meeting or before an intensive session, something like that, that again pulls you back to balance. Because this day and age, certainly working in a hybrid, remote environment, I know that for a lot of us, switching to remote took away your social. Mm-hmm. And taking away your social meant that you're at home. For some of us, we're in isolation. And one of the first things that a lot of you found out is that you don't like you. And part of that meant that now you got to deal with you. And so that means that's work you got to do. Okay? So we got to love us and embrace us so that this work can be done. And so we got the flexible work schedule, the flexible work environment, and we got to have balance to that. Well, your employer is going to get what they can get out of you. You've got to be intentional with your day that allows space and time for you to breathe, to exhale, to take a moment, to go for a walk, to eat right, to get enough rest, so on and so forth. So that, my friends, is a choice that we have to make on a daily basis, and I really encourage us to do so.
Nice. So it's all about what you feed yourself, because what you feed yourself controls your thoughts, and what you think, you speak, and what you speak, it manifests. So we got to be careful with what we're feeding ourselves, because what goes in us comes out. So before we go, and I saw Shannon Lee, we're just going to go back to this real quick. So everybody on your job, if you don't know this here, they have this thing called EAP, Employee Assistance Program. It's confidential. It's the number. You don't need your manager's approval or anything like that. They don't let your people know at all. So you go through EAP. Your job may offer 8 sessions a year, and it could be 8-hour sessions a year, and you just select a counselor for you that fits you. You tell them what services you need, and you go through that, and they will set you up with a therapist that you can talk to for free. It's no charge to it. You set up the schedule yourself. So that's what we are about. That's what this podcast is about tonight, is mindset and changing your mind. And sometimes we do need that person to talk to, and so Nick, if they want to like solicit your service, they can find that information too on your website.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then if you guys, what were you about to say, Nick?
Yes, I was going to say you can go on nicholasdillon.com, and you can also go on believewellnesscenter.com. That's another website. The website locally here in Dallas is believewellnesscenter.com. And then, or you can go to nicholasdillon.com. You can inbox me on social media as well. Either way, you can connect with me, and I'm more than happy to talk to anyone.
And can they email you, Nick?
They can certainly email me. You can email me at Nick, N-I-C-K, Dillon, like you see on the screen there, 2008 at gmail.com. And again, I'll respond to anyone. And I just want to leave you all with a thought for the day. And while we've talked about a lot today, I want everybody to realize that it just takes a moment, and sometimes what I call a 7-second pause, to shift your mindset, which means you decide that you're going to disrupt negative thinking just a moment to be able to shift your mindset to go in the direction that you want to either start going or continue to go. And so today, for those of you who are listening in, I'm going to challenge you today to make now your moment, because too often we get to a lifetime and we never get to that moment.
Wow. So everybody, that is an amazing way to end the podcast on tonight. And Nick, thank you so much for coming here, my brother. Oh
Thank
my
you, sir.
God. And we got to go eat again. You already know food
That's
is always
right.
going to be involved with me. So we got to go eat. So, hey, but everybody, just remember next Monday, same time, 7 o'clock. And then, guys, next week is going to be like super, super fun. So if you follow me on TikTok, you've noticed I've been doing these videos. How would you respond? So next week, we're going to have a panel of people on the podcast, and we're going to be talking about that. Like they're all dating scenarios. And, so Nick, I've done like ask them like, hey, I have a third person I want to bring into the relationship. I've already picked them out. What do you think? So it's like that. And the comments are hilarious. So if you're not following me on TikTok, follow me, the Dope Ass Dude podcast on TikTok. Answer some of those questions, because we're going to be putting them up on the screen next week, and we're going to be talking about it. But next week, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. And again, guys, thank you for all tuning in tonight. And until next week, peace.